So when the mouse is down, okay, when the mouse is down and there is movement, where is this? Oh, it's right in here actually. So once we save, what's happening here? Okay, so right here I want to check first of all if temp box, okay, if temp box exists, and now this is the part where we have to check if there is a temp box. First we check, and then we want to know if the XY coordinates are within that temp box. So we're going to put an if statement inside these brackets. So how do we know? Well, there is width and height here, and then there is X and Y. Okay, so first of all, it has to be greater than the X and Y of the mouse down event. So if mouse pause.x, first of all, this is the mouse position right now. So I'm gonna grab this inside its brackets. Actually, you know, let me go here. Let me just do let mouse x is equal to, let me do this. That way we have solid values here. And move this. And let's say let mouse y is equal to, and that's mouse y. Okay, great. That way we can always change them from here instead of having to maneuver this all the time. So I'm going to put mouse x here and mouse y over here. That way, in case we change how we're getting the mouse x and y, we can just change it from one place. All right, so that works. And what else? Okay, so the mouse x and mouse y. So if the mouse x, the current mouse x, is greater than the old mouse y, then we are probably within the box. And then I'm going to say and mouse y, this is also important, is greater than the original position y. So let me explain why this should work. So imagine we click, originally we click here, okay? That's where we clicked, and then we dragged around a box. So for as long as my mouse here is on the y-axis, for example, is higher than this level, so which could be anywhere down here after this box, which there's a high possibility that the mouse is within the box. Also, the x-axis should be greater than this corner here. So if both are greater, then it means it's somewhere within the box. But the box has a width and height, so which means it's not infinite, which means if I go too far this way or too far down this way, I'll leave the box. So we have to check for the edges as well there. So if this is true, and we should put an and as well to check for the width and the height. So I'm going to put this whole thing again inside brackets, copy it, and put an and here and paste again. So this is a long if statement. But if mouse x, and it should be less than the actual mouse down pause. Wait. No, now we should check in the temp box. Actually, we should be using temp box instead because it has the x and y stored there anyway. So instead of this one, we're going to use temp box, which is even shorter. So tempbox.x, tempbox.y, here tempbox.width. It should be less than the tempbox.width, and also less than the temp box dot height. Okay, so here mouse is inside an active box. Okay, so if that's true, then we do something else. Otherwise, if it isn't, we just create a new box. But in any case, we still need to clear the rectangle and redraw. So this should still happen either way. Okay, so I'm gonna come down here and then let's move, let's see, width and height. Okay, that's great. Let's move this guy up like so. So here we are drawing a new box. Okay, draw new box. This one, move existing box. Yeah, something like that. Maybe that's easier to remember. So here what we want to do is, since we've cleared everything and we've redrawn the thing, so now we just need to create a stroke. So the stroke is gray. So this will always be the same. So let's move that away from the if statements. What else? We need to also save the new params here, but they're saved differently, I guess, compared to here. So I'm gonna leave this as it is. But what I want to do is, what do I do here? Redraw, clear, redraw. Okay. So to move the existing box, since that box is within here, the params of those boxes are inside temp box, all I need to do is add to these guys and then create a box with those params now. So what I'll do is I'm going to say temp box dot x. In fact, it's just the x and y that will change. So is equal to wherever that temp box was at the time and the new x and y params that are there. So we're going to get the mouse position when we clicked the mouse down. We're going to use that. So we will add that, and then what do we do? The x should move by how many paces we have moved our mouse. So actually we have to use the new variables. Where are the new variables? The mouse x and the mouse y. So where is mouse x? Yeah, so this is the current mouse position. So what I'm trying to do is figure out how much the mouse has moved from the time I held down, I pressed down on the mouse, to the time I started moving it around. So I'm gonna do mouse x like that, which is the current mouse position, minus the mouse position when we clicked the down button there. So that would tell us how much the mouse has actually moved. And then same thing with the y-axis here. We do exactly the same thing, and let's put a y there. And once we do all this, we now are going to create a new rectangle. So I'm going to copy this and put it over there like so. And now we're going to use the temp box params in here, the x and y, width and height. So same thing here. I'm going to do that and put a dot like so. Okay, so let's test it and see what's going on. I'm going to load this image. Let's click and drag, no problem. But if I click within here, it should do its thing, but it isn't. So what's happening? Something not good. So let's click. Oh, it almost worked. Look at that. When it's big enough, it does work. Excuse me. But it's just the movement is getting exponentially high. When I move it, you see it goes overboard until it moves too far from where my mouse is, and then it creates a new box. So something wrong going on here. If I try to move it like this, you can see it clearly now. It doesn't work as it should. Okay, so there's something wrong with our math here. We are saying the temp box X plus the current mouse position. So we need to calculate the, let's see here, this one minus that. Okay. Oh, I think the problem is we are calculating from the new position here, isn't it? I think this is the problem. Okay, so I see where the problem is. The problem is every time this moves, it increases the number. So it's exponential because we are saving it back to the actual thing. So the thing is, we're supposed to find a way to move the box without actually messing with the original XY positions of the box. Those must be kept intact. So just like we have the temp box, the mouse down positions here, we should have the temp box down position. So I'm going to do temp box down pose like that. So I'm going to grab this. Now you can name these variables anything you want, of course. So what I want to do is, the moment I realize that this is a move event, I want to save the original values of the temp box thingy here. So instead of, let's see, maybe I should set this to a null so that I know when it's 0, 0. But I think this is okay. I think we can just check for 0 or 1. So what I'm going to do here is this. I'm going to say if that dot x is equal to 0, then which means we haven't saved that information. So what I'm going to do is save the information. So I'm going to do this. So I'm going to grab this temp.x and save it into this. So I'll do this, say .x is equal to the temp box x. So this is so that when we are doing our calculation, we're doing from the original position. So what I'm trying to do here, let me come back here. Let's say I click and drag here, and now I want to move this. So as I hold, as long as I've held the mouse and shaking it around, I should keep note of where it originally was, the X and Y, and then use the current mouse position to calculate where it should be based on how much I've moved so far in reference to that corner. The problem we have now is that if I move this a little bit like this, the position here changes exponentially because it's increasing, and when I do the calculation, it's not calculating from the original, which gives it wrong calculations here. So the speed gets exponentially faster and faster. So that's why you see that thing disappear completely. So let's try and do it this way instead, where we save the original position and use that in the calculation instead. So I'm gonna grab this and let's use that instead. Instead of this part, we use that. Okay, dot y like so, and then we calculate, we add to the current XY position, and that should do actually. In fact, this, instead of doing it like this, I could just save this when on the mouse down event, actually, right here. When I'm saving this one, at the same time, I can save, if there's any, if this is equal to 0, then I can save it from there. So I don't have to check on this all the time. But this could work as well, I guess. Let's try it. Let's see here. Click and drag. And then let's click and drag. It doesn't seem to work. So what I'm going to do is, let's see here. I'm gonna move this. Let me move it to the mouse down event. So when we are saving the other position, let's save the position of this guy as well. And then on the mouse up event, actually there's no need even to set the, on the mouse up event we should reset this to 0, 0. So let's go mouse up. I'm gonna do this. Dot x is equal to 0, same as the y-axis equal to 0, so that it resets when we let go of the mouse. Okay, so let's try again to do this. Click and drag. Let's move things. That doesn't work. Okay, so here it seems to work. Look at that. Yeah, the movement is much smoother and it follows what I'm doing. So there's something going on there. But what happens when I click on this smaller one? Oh, there's something that happens. It just snaps sometimes. Okay. Why, oh why? Oops. Huh. And then it just does something else completely. Okay. So it's like the mouse goes faster than it should at some point, and that makes it disappear. Okay. What's going on? Okay, we're gonna figure that out anyway. So at least so far so good. We can do a few things that are cool right now. It doesn't work very well, but we will fix it in the next video. Actually, on second thought, let's try and fix it just now. I think there's an easy fix here. I think we can make it so that once we enter the click and drag mode here, we don't exit the click and drag mode until we use the mouse up event. So let me try and say var, wait a second, the height, blah blah blah. Okay, so I'm gonna say let's create a draw mode. Draw mode is equal to true. Okay, we assume we are going to draw from the beginning. Oops. So let's copy that. And then let's come here, and once we go into this, then draw mode becomes false. Okay, so if we go in here, draw mode becomes false. This is the chicken and the egg problem. So once we go here, draw mode becomes false, so which means every time it should just come into this location here. So we're going to say if draw mode or something like this, right? So let me do this. That way, whenever draw mode is true, actually, if not draw mode, then we go in here. I've opened a bracket there, so I should close it there. I think this should solve the problem, because the first time we come in, draw mode is true. So it won't go here, but it might, because there's an or here and it will test this. If this is true, then it goes in here and then sets draw mode to false. That way, always we pass through here regardless what this is. Okay, until we let go of the mouse on the mouse up event, then we can say draw mode is equal to true. Okay, let's try this out. So I click and drag, that works. Once I start clicking and dragging, let's see here, then no matter how much I shake this, it shouldn't exit this movement mode, which is nice. But it seems it's a problem to go into the mode in the first place. So there's something happening. This thing has to be big enough to handle this. But when it's a small piece, it doesn't seem to fit very well. So just a moment, let's check it out. So back here, all right, let me swap these guys so that I deal with the X's before I deal with the Y's. So I'm gonna put this here and move this over here. Okay, that way we check the X, tempbox.x on the X-axis. If the current mouse position is greater than the temp box X, oh, the problem is the temp box X actually moves, kinda. Or does it? Let's see, temp box X, because we're changing it here. So let's use this guy instead. I think that would be better. Oh wait. Yeah, I think the problem is not even here. The problem is here. Let's see. Yeah, right here is the problem. Okay, so mouse X greater than temp X, and this part here, the mouse X is less than the tempbox.width, which it will never be. So this, we have to add the X position to the mouse X at that time, and then it should be less than this. Wait a minute. No. We have to add this to this. And then let's put that in a bracket. Okay, so this may get a little confusing, but what we're testing for is this. Let's say I have my thing here. So I know the XY position of my mouse right now, and I can easily check if my XY position right now is greater on both sides, the X and Y, greater than the position of the box. In this case, they are. But it's this part here where the width, let's say the width is 100 pixels. So if I check if this is less than 100 pixels, it's not true because 100 pixels is somewhere here. Or in this case, here. So what I should do is add the position of this box to its width to get the proper measurement. So that's what I'm doing here. And that's what I should have done here as well when testing the height. So on this height thingy, I'll put one more bracket, and I have to grab the temp Y and add it to the height to get the proper values. So when you have so many brackets like this, it's probably best to save these guys as separate variables and then put them in the if statement to avoid confusion. But for now, it seems it can work, so let's test it out. So I'm gonna click and drag, and it's more natural now. Even a very small version should work now. As you can see here, I can move this around, and then boom. Okay. Oops. We're having problems again, are we? So at least we've solved this problem, but when we move too fast, let me see. Sometimes it doesn't. Okay, like there. Ah, okay. So the bottom corner here doesn't quite fit when I go too close to this. Okay, so it seems it has a limit somewhere. I think on the height. Let's see. No, that's fine. I think it's both width and height. Okay. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's weird. Okay. It's working now. trying to break it so that we see all the possible errors, and there it is. Yeah, I'm breaking it somehow in the center here. So when this thing is big, certain problems don't show up. Anyway, it seems to work good enough for our purposes, and we shall leave it there. Oh, there we go. Ah, so the center has an issue. So it's actually the center with a problem. No, not really. Okay, so it seems it's the bottom of the page, actually. Or is it? Oh my god, this thing, sometimes it just works, sometimes it doesn't, which is really frustrating. Okay, I think it's this bottom half of the... Yeah, I think that's where the problem is, because if I click it here, it works fine. There, let's go up here. Oh, look at that. So it's like a magnetic field or a force field somewhere that stops things from happening when I get to a certain point, right? That's just so weird. Okay, we're gonna solve these problems in the next video.